Hello and welcome to my Canine Project Part 4. Starting to get a bit colder now. You can see the tea, steam coming up from the tea. No t-shirts anymore, jumpers. So this is Canine so far, and I'll just take you through where we are with him. Starting the radio control section, so we've got the motors all set up. They're working. The motor this side is a little bit loose. The chain's a little bit loose. If I take a link out, it's too tight. It won't fit. So I've got to leave it as it is. That's the smallest I can get it, but it's still loose. So when it runs, sometimes the wheel turns, sometimes it doesn't. So when I'm going to get around that is just put another extra wheel under here, which will just make that tighter. So I've got a wheel to fit. It's on a roller bearing, a roller pillow, so that just fits in there on an extra cog. So that'll just bring that out, make that nice and tight, so the wheel will constantly turn. The other big issue is on here. So we've got the servos for the steering. So I set up some steering already for it. The problem is that what I used wasn't man enough for the job. So I've got to make better steering done. So I'm going to be working on that today as well. So a little bit against the weather. The next couple of days, the weather's not going to be too bad. I've only got mornings to work on it. Towards the end of the week, probably not so much. So I can work on the electronic side inside, and then we'll just do the engineering side the next few days to get that working. So the main thing really is to get this set up and working. That's my first job this week, and then get the roller bearings set up on here.
And so my very first job is to start work on the steering. Just need to measure it out to get it correct, and then we can start drilling the holes to fit the steering rods.
Fairly tight. Doesn't need to be massively tight. Just it's in there. Now the idea with the servos, take the servo arm, pop the screw into the bottom, and then screw that all the way up. It takes a bit of screwing, but we're there. And you get a washer, pop that on the top there, and then this goes through there like that. Now that's obviously far too big, so I have one of these from a radio controlled car. Screw it down over the top. I've only got a couple of these, so I would put one in both ends, but I've only got a couple. So the main thing is it goes in the top like that. Now that makes that nice and tight on there. So washer goes on the top there. So we've got our washer, and we're just so fiddly. So we've got a screw, sorry, not washer. There you go, let's tighten it down on top of the washer. And there we have servo arm, it fits on there really, really well. And we just have to then fit this on top of the servo here. Okay, so for the other side then, we're just going to pop screw through there. Stick another washer in this side. There you go, tighten the nut up, and we'll just make that a little bit tighter. So we just tighten that up. But essentially, that is not going anywhere. Okay, so the other problem we've got is that being too slack. So we have a pillow block, and then we've got a cog which we just need to fit somehow onto there. And then the way this will work is the pillow block will be here, the cog will be there, and that holds that really tight outwards. So it's just a matter of screwing this into there, which is not too much of an issue. The main thing is getting this to fit on this, which again shouldn't be too bad. Just need to get it on nice and tight. Right, so what I've got to do is make sure this is going on square. Just need a little bit more in that direction. It's tight on there, it's not moving. Hold that out there. We don't want to take the motor off its track. I think we're looking something like that. So that's about right. Just need to get it screwed in.
Okay, so we've got the servos fitted. At the moment, it just looks like a bit of a massive cable and stuff. But you've got the servos on here, left and right set. And then you've got these servo arms on here. Set that better. That's it. So it moves left and right. So if I just move the camera down here, this is for the radio control unit, and then we have our, if I just show you here, we have the radio control unit here. The one I'm using has a built-in antenna, so we don't actually need an aerial, and then power switch is there. So to get the servos to work, servos are actually plugged into here. So we've got two servos, and they go into a splitter cable. And so the end of the splitter cable is just fitted into here, into number 1. So we need a separate battery with a small Futaba cable here, which plugs in the battery terminal at the back, and then the silver bits on the plug need to face forward. So if I just pop that in there like that, so as you see, that starts flashing, which means that it's now ready for the signal. So it's just searching at the moment for a signal. It can't find one because it's flashing. So if I turn the radio control unit on, so that now turns to a steady orange, which now means that it's receiving a signal from the radio control unit, so we know it's all working. So if we go back to the servos at the top here, so with the control unit, if I turn it to the left, that goes to the left, and I turn it to the right, that goes to the right. And looking at the wheel under here, so left, so you can see if I turn it to the left, the wheel actually goes to the right, which means that the front of K9 will steer to the left, and then vice versa. If I turn it to the right, K9 will then steer to the left. Turning circle on the wheel at the moment is not that great. I'll see if I can work on that a little bit more. But that is now working under radio control. So we've got that side set up now. So, speed controller then. So this is the speed controller. We have that lead for the battery, these two leads for the motor, and then the other side, there's an on-off switch, and then this, which just plugs into the microcontroller. So that's the unit itself. It's not very big. And if I just show you down here, with in Great Blue Peter's tradition, here's one I wired up earlier. So the speed controller, so that's wired into the battery. Those leads there just wired up to the motor. And then we've got our microcontroller here. So I just switch this on here. So you get some nice beeps. Microcontroller, so that's gone a steady orange, so that is now receiving a signal. And then the controller unit here, once we start using it, will turn red. So if I just turn it off again, just in case you didn't, also with the motor, you get this nice, so that comes on, and 3 beeps just to say that it is working and it can receive a signal. So I just move this over here like this. So if I move left and right, so rear of K9 now works with those servos, and if I go forwards, which is now working nicely, and also worked backwards as well. So coming on pretty well. There's that little bit of an annoying beep if you just have that just slightly in the wrong place. I might be able to iron that out. But yeah, so it is coming together now, which is nice. The only other thing is to get the other wheel working. I need another battery for that. It's turning up tomorrow. So I'll be able to get everything set up, get both wheels. They're going to be on 2 separate batteries because they're 12 volts, so each battery is 12 volt. So we can't work 2 motors off the same battery. So the other battery turn up tomorrow, get that wired up, and then we'll get out for a test drive. Right, so let's see how we handled. Should be able to get to all the buttons. So 2 buttons here. That one's on. There you go, that's on as well. Good, so now moving forwards. Teething problems, but generally I think it's all right.
Right, so let me just introduce you to what we've got so far. So this is going to be a board, so it's going to be a distribution board. So this will be connected inside K9 with it fitted. So we've got a bus bar here. So the electrics we plugged into the bus bar. On-off switch here. So you'll be able to turn K9 on, he'll come on, and then switch him off there. That's the microcontroller. And then just got an aerial just sitting on the top here, which is tied down. So the other speed controller I've taken off because I've managed to blow that up. So that's now not working, and it wasn't really any good anyway for what I needed it for. So we're going to keep the case there. But the two speed controllers are placed here. And then we've got the male and female connectors, which connect up to the motor. So one motor for this one, and then we'll connect one for the other side as well. So that's going to be where the controllers are going to go. We're going to have a distribution area here as well. So that's going to be for the cigarette lighter, which is going to power the iPad on the other side. We'll have on-off switches here for each motor. We don't really necessarily need to turn the motors off independently, but if I do, we've got the on-off switches here. And then the main on-off switch for the whole of K9. This will be for the motors. We'll probably have a separate on-off switch for the electrics as well. So that's what we've got to so far. So what I'm doing right now is I've just got to wire these up with the motors. So to wire them up, I'm just using electric cable. I'm just taking a knife, the electric cable, and then we're just cutting, just putting in an incision along the cable itself. This is actually really good cable. It's quite thick, so it's a little bit of a pain to break. So we're just doing that. I'm just slicing it down so we can take this cable out. So I'm going to use brown for live. So all the live connections will be brown, and the connection to the battery will be blue, and the earth connections are going to be green and yellow. So I'm going to try and keep to that colour code so I know what wires are what. Okay, so we're just wiring the right hand side motor first, or should I say the left hand side motor. So you just got to strip the cover. So brown is live, so that's now connected. We'll just see, you just solder onto the side there, and then you've got a nice little sleeve which just comes over just to give that extra support. And then one of the negative leads here. We've got we've got connectors for two batteries on here. That's two motors, sorry. So you've got two reds and two blacks. Only problem with these is I think they're 12 volt speed controllers. So if I had two motors plugged in, that's going to be 24 volts. So it's probably not great. So I'm going to do one motor per speed controller to keep it down to 12 volts. So we're not going to use the other cables. So we just want one of the blacks to the negative. So we're just going to slide that down there. So the negative sleeve, just twist that. So it just goes through there and hooks down the side. And we're just going to brush the wires down. And then we're just going to take our solder iron, a bit of solder on this. trying to keep the solder down as much as possible, as thin as possible. Got to say, my soldering is my soldering is not the best. I just want to get that down a little bit. Thing is, you've got to do it fairly thin as well. Because the sleeve, plus the plastic sleeve has to go over the top. I think that will do. Not the best. Let that cool a little bit. It's fairly tight, and that just slides over the top like that. Now, just for neatness, the two cables are going to feed through these holes here, and we'll do the same with the other cable. Like that, and just connect it up with the motor the other side. These two cables will just be folded away and tucked out the way here. Then this is plugged into the controller here. Again, what we're going to do, we're going to feed this underneath, round the back, and then that is going to go through one of the holes here and into the microcontroller here. Okay, so this is the reverse side. So the cables come through here, and then they will be plugged into the motors here. So I've got to do those next. Toggle switch. Again, my soldering's not the best. With a toggle switch, I did find, after a bit of trial and error on YouTube, that actually you got two pins on there, so you would think positive and negative, but it's not. The way it has to be wired in is you've got a wire from the battery, negative, that's going to go straight through to the bus bar, which goes through into the battery. The positive goes up, soldered into the back here, and then you take another cable off this toggle up here, and that goes through and into the bus bar. So the positive goes via the switch, the negative goes direct to the bus bar. So the switch then just breaks the positive section part, and then it turns the motor on and off, essentially. I will have a LED. At the moment, I haven't been able to get the LED to work, so I've just got to work on that as well, once everything else is working. Yeah, so that's the back of the K9. So all I have to do is get on with the wiring. So that's it. This is the base of K9. Now, pretty much complete. There's a couple of little things to do. The on-off switch, I just need a bulb here. So we need a diode to come on and off when it's switched on and off. So I need to sort that out. And then here, we're going to have a panel where we're going to have the cigarette lighter to control the computer around the back, and a few other bits and pieces, the on-off switches for the speed controllers as well. But let's just switch this on. I turn that on. So K9 now switches on, and controller over here. So if I can turn the controller on, there you go, so it's now recognised the controller. Left and right, and then forward, and backwards. And then going backwards is working an awful lot better now. So yeah, that is it. K9, the base of K9 is now pretty much complete, barring a few little things. Final thing I want to do is one thing. You can turn, whenever you turn the controller off, the motors just start. So I just need to turn off there first before the controller's turned off. Final thing left to do then is get K9 sprayed up. So really looking forward to this, getting, this is actually going to be the finishing colour. So that's my next job to do. Okay, so the body is now ready. It's all been filled up quite a few times. I've put the handles in as well. The side will fit nicely, so it's time for the final coat. It'll need quite a few coats to build up the paint, but this is going to be the final colour. It's an exciting day. It's finally arrived. Also got the handle for the front as well, so that the hole's drilled for that, so I can just put that on. The only thing left to do is sort the screen out. It's going to be a rubber strip that's going to go around the outside, so it shouldn't really affect the paintwork, but it will need a few coats to gradually build it up. It's had quite a few coats of primer, so it'll need a few coats of the final finish to build it up. But this is going to be the final colour. Let's do it. So that's it, that's the final coat on K9. Well, say not the final coat, it's the final finish, but it's not the final coat. It'll need quite a few coats to gradually build it up. But yeah, so that is the final colour. That's it for this part. So we're back again in part 5, I believe. So in part 5, we'll carry on. We've got the tail to do, the computer panel to finish, and then we'll start work on the head. So things are moving along quite nicely. So yeah, I shall see you in part 5. Oh, and the computer as well. So the computer's to build as well. So that'll probably be in part 5 as well. So exciting. We're actually going to get it to do things. So yeah, really can't wait. See you then. Bye.